Good evening, folks. How you doing? I'm Manny Vitale, host of My Fight Our War, and as you can see, I got my little buddy here, Groot, and you can't have Groot without Rocket
Rocket. Yeah.
and a sunflower.
Woo,
Got to
woo.
have a sunflower, right? And see what happens when you grab a raccoon by his legs and squeeze his nuts. Ah, same thing. You do that to a guy. Same thing, man. Not happy, not happy. But anyways, welcome to a Wednesday night here in
Mhm.
Detroit, Michigan. Like I
Beginning
said,
of October.
October the 1st,
Yep.
folks. And it's just a lot going on. We've been chit-chatting with a lot of people, just kind of, the last for a while, man. Hey Laura, how you doing? Cousin Laura
Hey,
from
Laura.
Arizona is in the house. And cousin Tony is in the house. It
And they're
was
both taking
great.
collagen and creatine. They're good.
They are
They're getting
good to
healthy.
go. Just thinking back of all the stuff that's been happening. Like I said, I don't know, man. Sometimes you just sit back and you kind of reminisce about everything that's going on in life, good, bad, and ugly. And for me, trying to think, what can I do? I'm That's why blender brain. Always thinking, what can I do to make my fight or war better? What can I do um, to make things more interesting, um, to be more helpful, just everything, and it should be that way in life. What can I do to improve myself first as a person and stuff like that. And, I was talking to some people and they were asking about my fight or war. And of course, that's all you got to say to me, man. I'll be more than happy to talk about it all day, all night.
Mm-hmm.
Just like OG, man. This is, that's what we do. That's the whole point. And just like all of us here in social media, um, and that's kind of what tonight wanted to jump on because talking to a few people, they're like, with my fight or war, you know, how did it come about? We know why it's around, to help people dealing with addiction, helping people, with any kind, no matter what it is, with addiction, mental health issues, whatever it is, man. And I always like to say that it doesn't need to have a diagnosis or a name to be something that's tearing your world apart, man. Sometimes we just need um, someone to talk to. Sometimes we just need someone there to listen. And so that's why you see so many amazing platforms out here in recovery to help in any way possible. Um, but just like each and every one of us, having our own stories, each one of us that do have shows and host shows, we have our own stories as far as what made us do what we're doing, what made all these other people who have podcasts, no matter what it may be. It could be sports related. Okay, well, obviously you like sports, but was there something in particular that made you want to jump in to social media and do a podcast on sports? Obviously cooking. People love to cook. Okay, well, you know what? I had my family recipes. I wanted to share it with the world. There's a reason. And people, I've been asked many times, okay, is there something with my fight or war that was that aha moment? And I've shared it. I've shared it many times on shows that I've been a guest on, um, at events that I've been very blessed to ask to speak at, because that's why we're there, to share our story, to let people know they're not alone. Um, but as I was told by our producer, Matt Cronin, and my brother Ian Bick, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that have been doing this for a long time, is to be consistent and let people know the backstory. And just because you've told it once or twice, it's never enough, because there's always going to be people coming on who are new to this family and, you know, don't know the reason why and would like the backstory. So, tonight, we're going to give you kind of a Reader Digest version of My Fight or War. And also, um, how OG was thrown into this chaotic world of social media, and the way that all went down. So sit
Mhm.
back and enjoy. Um, and please, have any questions at all, as always, man, just pop on. We're family here. It's just like, I told a few guests before that were a little nervous. Just think of it as just sitting by a bonfire with your buddies and your family and just talking and discussing and just a very at ease atmosphere. And because God knows with the things that we've dealt with in our lives in the past, it's been anything but. But, anyways, for me, and the reason that this here came to be, this is the actual paper, and I'll explain that started things on January the 8th of 2023. And I will get back to that paper. But before that, my life, um, which I thought was fine, which a lot of people do that are dealing with issues with addiction, mental health issues. Everything's fine until it's not.
Mhm.
And that was me. And until everything started spiraling out of control. Um, you know, for me growing up, I did come from a split family. My mom and dad did get divorced. Thank God, because my mom, uh, the hero that she is, got us out of a very serious, very volatile situation with my biological dad, who was a
Peace
very
on.
evil person, very
Mhm.
violent person. And but I'm not going to sit there as people like us in addiction do. We like to manipulate and blame. It's always everyone else's fault but ours why we did this. I always said we've got to, until we own it, it'll own us. So back to me, growing up, I was very blessed. Sometimes people hear that when I tell them, we got out of that situation, but I spent um, younger years with family, with different aunts and uncles, and staying with family members. And my mom and myself, we moved in with my aunt and uncle, and grandma and great grandma, and my another uncle. So there was a bunch of us. And then there was a time where I actually was staying with my aunt and uncle and my cousins. Um, and wasn't staying with my mom. She was working very hard, couple jobs, and it wasn't safe where we were living at the time during the riots and all that. So I was staying with other family members, but my mom would work all day, come and see me where I was staying, then go home. Um, and some people would say, "Oh, that's it's got to be rough, not seeing your mom and all that stuff." But I tell you what, I was surrounded by family and nothing but love, man. So I'm not going to blame it on that. But and even growing up, man, as all you have seen, not only our show, but other shows, when I have guests on, it is absolutely amazing when you hear these people's stories, with addiction entering their lives. I mean, you hear it just like I do, man.
Mhm.
It's nothing to hear someone say, "Well, I started, drinking at 10 years old, started shooting up at 11."
Mhm.
And that's just a fact of life. That's just how things were. And again, for me, no, man. I was very blessed. My uncle uh, was very into sports, baseball, hockey, but hockey was it, boy. And he was my everything. He was my coach. He was my uncle. He was my big brother. Um, and guided me into sports at a very young age, and that helped me as far as you know being away from that element. Where some friends at that time were starting to experiment, I was focused on playing hockey, man, and that was it. um, my ma, at a very young age, I think I was in third grade when my mom met my biological, or my actual, my stepdad, who I had adopt me, who is an absolute hero. I lost my dad; he passed away. Uh, and that's a whole nother story that I'll get into at another time. But the man is just my idol. But growing up, sports helped me stay away from drugs and everything up until a certain point. Um, I'm sitting here always. We're gonna do the short version. We're only gonna go on for a little bit.
I know
We
what he
know how
means.
that goes. The next thing you
Mhm.
know, an hour and a half later. So you know what? I am gonna kind of chop this up to get to the point of why this came around. The little bits and pieces of the puzzle you can kind of put together as we go. But like I said, the I took baby steps on my road to addiction, and it started with drinking. And I was probably like 15 or so, just here and there. As far as the drinking getting out of control, that was in my later years. Um, I am a former Detroit police officer and EMT, and also a former member of an outlaw one percenter motorcycle club, the Detroit Highwaymen. I mean, you talk about a
Yin and yang.
you can't get any more out of control than that. A lot of the shows that I'm on, it'll say from outlaw or from lawman to outlaw, which is basically how it went too. 1 minute I'm wearing a badge, working with the state, local, DEA feds, and literally a week later, I'm being pursued by them. And that was due to drugs and alcohol taking over my life, which cost me my career, cost me family, cost me friends, cost me relationships, damn near cost me my life numerous occasions. Those of you who know me, heard this story, know that there was a lot of violence that I had, a lot of anger. Um, I've got these lovely scars. I've got a plate under my left eye where I was involved in numerous fights and had a gun shoved in my face. Trigger was pulled, and I have a plate under my left eye. By the grace of God, I'm still alive. By the grace of God, I can see. And that didn't, you know, that didn't wake me up that I needed to change my ways, because a year later, I was stabbed right down the side of the face with a razor knife in another fight. Almost lost my eye. Um, I had my appendix burst. I had issue with the surgery going bad when they took the tube out, and my lungs filled with blood, and they had to rush me to ICU. Let's see.
Sepsis in
I
your
got
arm.
I'm
Mhm.
cut from my elbow up to my shoulder almost because of an improper IV of all things. And I woke up the next morning after the IV and sick as hell. And next thing you know, I'm rushed to the OR because I had sepsis. And they said that they didn't know if I was going to make it from there. All these things. And, again, you would think, hey, they're wake up calls, man. And it didn't work. It just, things just got worse and worse and worse. Like I said, it cost me my career. It just cost me my life. Damn near, literally cost me my life.
Mhm. Some friends also gone.
Oh, yeah. Relationships. Uh, I didn't care. That just shows you the strength that addiction has over us. Um, and the one, I mean, one's bad enough. I mean, when you have a near death experience, one's enough. I've had multiple, and I just listed a few. Um, but the last one came on 2020, January of 2020. I was rushed to Henry Ford Main Hospital because I was as yellow as a banana from nose to toes, delirious, just out of it. In fact, they took me, for the people that are in Michigan, the Macomb County area, Henry Ford Hospital. I was there for a very short time, and they said, there's nothing we can do for him. They told my family they took me to Henry Ford, Maine in Detroit, where I was a patient there for over 30 days. Half of it was in ICU. I coded 2 times, 3 times, or something like that. They brought me back. And one morning, I woke up to 2 doctors. I had a older doctor, this gentleman, dickhead, Dr. Death, and a younger female who was just a sweetheart. Talk about yin and yang, man.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in charge of my organs, and they told me that that my kidneys, pancreas, and liver were in very bad shape, that I was basically an organ failure, at this time, and they were doing whatever they could to try to help. At this point, I was so out of it. I didn't realize how bad things were until one morning. I'm in my hospital room all by myself, and the door opens, and oops, sorry, I'll pop this here, and Dr. Death walks in, the older male doctor walks in, wakes me up, and he starts talking to me, and he's like giving me statistics and stuff. And I have no clue what he's talking about. And all of a sudden he says, 6 out of 10 people with numbers like yours don't make it. Then he's just looking at me, and I start laughing. And I said, well, I'm glad I'm not one of those 6, because we're talking. And he goes, no, you don't understand. Your numbers are worse than those 6. And he goes, there's nothing we can do for you. And he gets up and he goes, okay, well, someone will be in to talk to you. And, I'm sorry. And he leaves. Don't forget, I'm still delirious as shit from organs not functioning. I'm on Dilaudid
medication, yeah.
from my pancreatitis was so bad. So I'm sitting there and I literally pass out, because I still don't really understand or could comprehend what just happened. All of a sudden I wake up, and standing in the room is his partner, this younger female doctor. And I've been there for a month. So you build up a rapport, and she's just staring there. And when I open my eyes, she was crying, and I'm just, startled me. And all of a sudden she walks over and she sits down on the side of the bed, and grabs my hand. And she goes, I know that my partner was here. As soon as she did that, I realized that this shit's real. And I looked at her and I said, that I actually said that. I said, so this is real. And she goes, this is as real as it gets. And I just remember saying, please, there's got to be something you can do. And she started crying even more. And she said, Manny, there's nothing we can do. She said, up until now, while you've been here, your kidneys, pancreas, and liver have been functioning, but barely.
Mm-hmm.
We've been hoping that, the not drinking, being in here, fluids hopefully could stabilize you. And unfortunately, the worst has happened. And not only did one of your organs stop working, they all did. She said, at this point, your kidneys, pancreas, and liver are no longer functioning. You are in complete organ failure. And she said, there's absolutely nothing that we can do. And I just remember staring at her. And I just looked up and I said, how long do I have? And she said, less than 6 weeks to live. And I never cried. It was almost like this stunned, almost acceptance. I don't know. I still can't explain it, but I just remember looking at her, and she said, hospice will be here, to talk to you. They're going to take over your care. We're going to send you home, and you're going to be very comfortable. And I was just like, holy shit, we're talking about my death. So she leaves, or before she leaves, she goes, do you want me to stay until your family gets here? And I didn't even think of that. I mean, you talk about a phone call.
Hmm.
I had to call my mom at home, and I'm thinking, how do I do this? How do I make this call? I mean, just think about that for a minute. Just I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, but I mean, just think about this for a second. If that was you, and I'm just how you would feel, because for me, I felt nothing, man. It was the strangest out of body experience at this point, because I'm sitting there thinking, how do I make this call to my mom? What words can I say? How can I say these words? So I just called her, and I just said, you know, as soon as she answered, obviously she knew it was me. She goes, "Oh, hi, how you feeling?" I go, "Ma," I go, "I need you to come to the hospital now." And she goes, "Oh, I will." She goes, "You know what? I'm going to go shopping. Do you want me to pick you up anything?" She has no idea what's going on. So she's just like, "What do you need? You want me to bring you something?" And here I am with this news. And I'm like, "Ma, please, you need to get here right now, please." And she goes, "I will." She goes, "Geez." And she's, at clueless. And I think I finally got a little bit, abrupt. "Ma, you just need to get here." And she said, "What's going on?" I could, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to be dead in 6 weeks, or maybe by the time you get here. And so I just said, "Please, you need to get here." So she hangs up. She picks up her sister, my aunt, and there's a friend of mine came as well. And now I'm sitting in bed as they're on their way, thinking, okay, that was step one. Now what do I do when she walks in the door? How do I have this conversation with my mom? Again, what would you guys do? I mean, what? And I'm not trying to say, try to be corny or anything like that. I'm just curious because, like, for me, it was a very, let's just say, when I woke up that morning, I never expected to be told that you're going to be dead soon. So the whole time I'm thinking, what do I say? Next thing you know, I look up and they come walking through the door, and they're just staring at me. And the only words that I could come up with were, um, "I'm sorry, I have to leave you." And they were just kind of looking at me. And I said, "I'm just going to say it. My organs have stopped functioning, and there's nothing that can be done. And I've got less than 6 weeks to live. Hospice is taking over my care." And, it was just like that. My aunt, my friend started crying. My mom just kind of looked at me. And, by this time, there was still confusion because my aunt and my friend were like, "Oh, there must be a mistake. You heard wrong. This isn't true. There was like this all going on, before everything else happened." And I'm like, "No, this is true." And the doctors happen to be right there. So they walk in and they're like, "We're very sorry, but yes, he is correct. There's nothing that can be done. Hospice is here to take over his care, and he's got less than 6 weeks to live." And again, my mom just sat there, taking stuff out of the bag, just talking like I never said anything. Um, and I just looked at her and I go, "Mom, I'm sorry." And she looked at me and I said, "We need to talk." And she just said, "No, no, we don't." She said, "It's not up to them. It's not up to doctors." She goes, "It's up to God when it's your time." And she goes, "And that's it." And that was it. I did, she said, "We're not going to talk about it." And she just kept going on, getting my lunch tray together. Meanwhile, the rest of the people that were there were crying, hugging, just it was just insane at that time. So here's hospice come in, and they're saying how they're going to get a hospital bed for me. I'm going to be on medication, and OG is a nurse. She knows
Mhm.
when it gets to that point, you're done. You're done. I mean, you're.
It's the real
I
deal.
mean, you know that.
Mhm. They don't give you to hospice just willy nilly. It has to be serious.
Yeah. So here they are telling me that I'm going to be. Um, I will be very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in no pain.
Comfort care. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there again thinking, is this fucking happening? I mean, we're literally having a conversation just like right now
Mhm.
about my demise, about my
Mhm.
death. So I was just like, it is what it is, man. And I remember I was so tired because of my organs failing. I could barely stay awake because of that. But I remember every time my eyes would close, have like a slight panic attack because I didn't know if I was going to open my eyes again.
Mhm.
Because they said less than 6 weeks. I mean, it could be that night. They didn't know. So they leave and they said we need to get some blood work. We're going to transfer it to hospice, and they did. Well, next thing you know, they come in, 4 hours later, something like that, and they said we need to take more blood. I was like, Whatever." So they do another 4 hours. They're taking blood. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, why are you taking blood from a dead guy? I mean, but don't forget, I'm still out of it from organ failure. So I'm
And
not
the
thinking,
lauded.
yeah, and the Dilaudid. So I'm not thinking right. All this is happening. And what I didn't realize is every time they were coming to draw blood, there were other hospital staff coming in instead of just the phlebotomist or, now all of a sudden there's 3, 4, 5 people coming in, drawing blood, doing it from different sites, asking me questions. And I'm so out of it, I wasn't understanding why. Anyways, cut to the chase. This goes on for 7 days. Kept coming back in my room, asking me questions, more and more people. And I finally like, what the hell, man? I go, I want to go home. I don't want to die in here. And they made up some excuse about paperwork, whatever, getting things, the logistics. Anyways, on the seventh day, I I wake up, I'm looking around, and my room is full of doctors and other staff, other personnel, all just sitting there looking at me. And I was just, I it was the strangest thing in my, I again, you can't explain something like this. And at the foot of my bed is Dr. Death and his assistant, and they're just staring at me. No one's fucking talking. They're all just staring at me. And I'm like, listen, I
Somebody's
want to go
saying something.
home. And all of a sudden, he leans down and he grabs my ankle and he's just staring at me. Now, this guy, I mean, the only time his lips moved was when he barely talked, and then they barely moved. So he did. Next thing you know, I see this big smile on his face. And I'm like, what the shit? All of a sudden, he starts smiling and he starts laughing.
Mm.
And, being a very calm person I am, like, you fucking prick. You're sending me home to die
And
and you're laughing at me. Oh, it gets better. So I'm sitting there
there's
and
more.
and there's more. You get Dr. Death, you get Dr. Death. And he looks over at all the cronies, all the people that are in the room, and he kind of just starts laughing again. They start laughing. Now I'm like, what the shit? I'm thinking maybe I'm already dead. They're just sitting there talking about the dead guy and they don't know I can still hear him. Well, at this point, the younger girl, the associate, who was just a sweetheart, she cried the whole time. She cried. She cried for me, I think. And she comes over and sits on the bed. And by this time, she's bawling. She's holding my hand. And I'm like, what is going on? And she goes, Manny, we're sending you home. She goes, but not to die. She goes, we're sending you home to live. And I'm like, you know, you guys are going to make me drink. I mean, what the hell is
Make up your
happening
mind.
here? And she goes, these are specialists that came in from, different locations, different hospitals. I believe some from out of state came in, and they're all with their little iPads asking me questions and going over lab work and everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, up until, like you said, when you first came in, your organs were barely functioning, and then they shut down. And she goes, and that's when hospice came in. That's when we told you.
Mhm.
And she goes, oh, and by the way, when we told you you had 6 weeks to live, she said, we were trying to give you enough fight to hang in there because we knew that you had family from out of town that were trying to get here to see you before you died. And she said, all of us in here, and she goes, well, the ones taking care of your immediate care, we knew that you were going to be dead in less than 48 hours. And this was 7 days later when she's telling me this. And she said, the reason we kept doing this blood work is when we did that last one to transfer to hospice care, obviously there was going to be no readings as far as output, but there was. So they knew it had to be a bad draw. So that's why they came in and did it again with other people to observe. They moved even more. For the next 7 days, every time they came in, the numbers in my labs were moving in a positive direction, to the point on the seventh day, my kidneys, pancreas, and liver were not only functioning, they were functioning at normal limits. I mean, you talk about being blessed.
Miracle.
I mean, they just said you should not, excuse me, you should not be here. She said, you should have been dead 6 days ago.
Mm.
And she said, not only that, but to have your lab output, your numbers right now, this does not happen. And by this time, it was just insane in there. And I remember that the only time, because people will say, were you afraid? The only time I was afraid is during all these conversations. They're like, listen, man, you need like intensive rehab recovery. You need inpatient 24/7. I'm like, yeah. And they said, don't even think about it, even looking at alcohol. And all of a sudden I was like, that's all I know, man. So the only time I was afraid is when they told me I was going to live, because I didn't know how to live without that lifestyle. And I remember thinking, my life's over. I mean, I'm just going to sit in the basement because I don't know how to act in public. I don't know how to act around people. I don't know how to act in a crowd without drugs and alcohol and all this other shit, to be in my system. Well, I tell you what, um, January the 27th of this year will be 6 years sober and blessed to still be alive. And, I had to do something, but in me and Manny fashion, people are like, oh, you must have started My Fight Our War when you got home that day. Nope.
Mm-mm.
No, I knew I wanted to. Because I remember telling people, you know what, I need to share the story. I need to talk to people. I need to do this. I need. And I did nothing for 3 years. Nothing. I thought about it and different ways to do it. But all of a sudden, January the 8th, 2023 came around. And this is the actual paper that I wrote. And yes, that's a wolf. Hey, I never said I could draw, but I got up from the living room, walked into the kitchen, and I said, I'm starting a social media family to help anyone and everyone dealing with any type of addiction or mental health issues in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just sitting there all by myself and not having a clue about IT, social media, Facebook, zero, no, nothing. So I was like, well, you know what? My intentions are good. I'm just not going to do it. My ass. So that night, I wrote. I remember sitting there and I remember thinking, I need a name. I need a name of this this family to throw on social media. And all of a sudden, and as God is my witness, man, as Groot is my backup, I was sitting there and I said, God, I need a name. And all of a sudden, with this paper, I wrote My Fight Our War. Right here. Here it is. Keep it in the studio, and I am going to frame it because a lot of people said that. And I remember thinking, what the why? And all of a sudden I look up, My Fight, Our War, my fight, someone, it could be alcohol, my fight, it could be, heroin, my fight could be meth, my fight could be an eating disorder, my fight, it could be whatever it is the addiction is. Each individual is different. That's my fight. But our war is addiction. So it's my fight. All of our individuals, our war together as a family. My fight, our war. And I just looked up, man. And, I told you I didn't cry in the hospital and all that. I've been doing a lot of crying ever since. I cried during my videos. I cried during shows. I cry when I talk to people. I cry when I'm doing events. And I don't care. I've had people and producers, when I first started say, we could edit that out. And I'm like, yeah, the hell you can. No, these are emotions, something that I'm still getting used to that I've forgot that I had. And so on January the 8th, I wrote that. And before I even put the pen down, I also wrote, join our pack. You'll never be alone. This all happened in less than 10 minutes. I mean, you talk about God, miracles, and things that are meant to be. Things that are meant to be will be. I'm living proof of it. And so I did the next morning. And there's a note on my cross in my bedroom. It's got Manny Vitale, and then it's got my biker named Gunner. And I taped it to my cross that night on January the 8th. Because I know me. I've been around me my whole life. And I know how I, can bullshit. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this because I'm going to see this the last thing I see before I go to bed, first thing I see when I wake up. And sure as shit, the next day I went on social media, clueless, and I started My Fight Our War. And here we are. January the 9th coming up will be 3 years that we have been a family. July the 4th of July weekend or week that just passed was a year that we started shows, podcasts. So it's only been over a year doing this stuff that I've never done before that I absolutely love. That's, my crazy ass journey. And there's a lot that I left out because we'd be here all night. But the next part is how OG got
stuck into
this. Hey, and it's her fault because she said hello. And the way that this happened is I started My Fight Our War, and it just took off. I mean, the posts, the comments, there was no videos, or very, very few. It was just a lot of posts, a lot of people talking, introducing themselves. The one thing I did say is, when you're part of this family, we are family. I want everyone to refer to each other as family. And it just took off, and we did. And I was sleeping maybe 2.5 hours a night because I was answering messages, all different time zones. I have never felt such excitement in my life until My Fight Our War. And again, clueless of what I'm doing. And but I knew up here somehow I had the idea. I knew what I was going to do, just didn't know how. And the whole time this is going on, my body is literally falling apart from all the fights, my lifestyle, the biker lifestyle, the police, EMS, playing hockey my whole life, the just being bruised and battered. I've had over 51 surgical procedures. My right knee, right hip, right shoulder have been replaced. I need more back surgery. I need my left hip and left shoulder replaced yet. plate under my left eye, screws in my left knee, staples and screws in my left elbow. And that's just this much.
He's a surgeon's
Oh,
dream.
yeah, I am Henry, for those of you who know Henry
Who
Ford.
know Henry Ford?
So, anyways, I'm at the gym dealing with My Fight or War and all of these amazing things that are happening in my life, but my back is just deteriorating at a very quick rate. I mean, to the point where I could walk about 10 feet and I'd have to stop, hold on to something, but I would not. That's just me. I won't quit. I won't stop. And the blessings that I've been given now push me even more. And I would be at the gym. I have been training for over 35 years. So, it's not like I'm some newbie at this, well over 35 years. Um, I'm in there working out, and the pain got so bad that I would get up from the bench, which would take me about 5 minutes. And I'm not even kidding. And OG can be
Slowly.
a proof to this. I would try to pull myself up. And the thing is, I would make no noise. I would not attract attention like poor me. Fuck that. You know what? You do you. But I wasn't going to stop. And I would get up and I'd go into the corner and
Cry.
I'd cry. It hurt so bad. I'd be crying. Or it hurt so bad there was a garbage there. I'd throw up. And then I'd go back and I'd keep working out. I would not stop. And this just kept going on and on and on. OG the whole time has been training there, and I've known her just like a lot of people that you
Morning.
just hi,
Morning.
bye,
Morning.
and coming and going and stuff like that.
Didn't know his name.
It's our gym rat family.
Mhm.
A lot of people who train, know what I'm talking about. So that's how it was. By the time I'd get there, she was leaving. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Have a good day. One day, same thing. I'm hobbling around doing my thing. I think I was trying to stretch or something. And all of a sudden she does her, okay, hi, bye, hi, and all that. And all of a sudden she stops and she goes, yeah, can I ask
Are
you
you
something?
okay?
And I'm like, what? She goes, what's wrong with you? You got a while? And she goes, I'm a nurse. And she goes, I've seen you in here and it just seems like things are getting worse. And I go, well, and so I started telling her, about all the surgeries and stuff like that. And I think I had the hat or
You
shirt
had
or something
on. Yeah.
that said My Fight or War. And she asked about My Fight or War, which boom, start talking about it.
Boom, is right.
And when I told her what it was about, all of a sudden the laughing and joking stopped. And the look in her eye completely changed from one of funny, laughing, joking to very serious. And that's because
I lost my brother to alcohol.
yep. And
Didn't know he was an alcoholic.
She's a nurse.
But he was, he lived about 40 miles away from me. So I'd only see him a couple times a year. And, on holidays and whatever, and people are drinking. But he'd been drinking beer kind of like I drink coffee or water, or Manny drinks water, just a lot. And I'm assuming his pancreas was also saying goodbye, like Manny said goodbye.
Yep. And the whole thing, as soon as that information was shared, without
how can I help?
Blinking, she goes, how can first it was, how do I become part of it? How do I join? And I said, just Facebook, and she, okay. And she became a member. And I think it was like a couple days later, after it was very quick after that, because I was just dragging ass just from being so tired from not sleeping. And then at this point, I started dabbling, going into merchandise, and then wanting to do videos and shows and stuff that I had no idea what to do. And somehow that came up in conversation, and she goes, how can I help? And I said, I need an admin. And she goes, what's an admin do? And I said, I don't know, everything. And I go, and I remember say, you're going to be, and she said that she goes, I'll do it. And she said, during these conversations, I said, you're going to be in charge of, setting up guests to come on the show. You're going to be in charge of me going on, scheduling to go on other people's shows. and this is before I did anyone else's show. But I go, this is going to happen. I was very focused and confident that it was going to happen. And I remember one conversation saying, yep, you're going to be booking flights. I go, yeah, because going to be going to New York for the Today Show and stuff like that, which we both started laughing. And I said, I'm kidding. And I go, no, I'm not. It was a week later, we would you see each other at the gym and we'd go over like the list. And as far as ideas and thoughts and things that are, in the works. And I said, remember how I told you about New York? I said, we're going to New York. I said, Ian Bick, locked in with Ian Bick. Started talking with Ian. He heard my story and he goes, I want you to fly out to Connecticut to be on our show. And for those of you in social media, know Ian Bick. No, locked in with Ian Bick. Matt Cronin, who is now our producer as well. And so here, all those things that I was supposedly kind of joking, but not really, are actually happening. I'm not much of a traveler. I've never traveled much in my life. Where OG, on the other hand, she's like, oh, I've gone over the ocean 50 times and here, and there. And here's me. Well, I went to Vegas, and she goes, cruises and this and here. I go, well, I went to Bablo,
And for those of you in the Detroit area,
yeah, the Bablo boat. I went down the Detroit River. So all these things that have taken place.
He's now flown many times.
Oh yeah. Now it's gotten to the point where I have made friends with TSA agents. I've been stopped. I mean, I've heard horror stories about people in their flying that have a terrible experience, especially with TSA. And here's me. I love those guys. I got followed by a dog. One of the TSA's drug sniffing dogs followed me. Let's see what else. Connecticut New York, White Plain,
New York.
Going through TSA, I got stopped, and the one guy grabbed me, and he ended up recognizing the name and the shirt that I, my fighter wore, and yelled for his buddy, and he came over. So then he's got his hand on my other shoulder. So now the people at the airport are seeing TSA agents grabbing a hold of me,
him.
and they wanted to, take a picture. So we're sitting there taking pictures, and it's just like, this shit's great. And just the people that have come into my life are, just as it's insane. I've just been watching the post come up, and OG, as usual, has taken care of all this stuff. And Cookie, Laura, Leroy,
Wanda,
yeah,
Trisha,
I mean, all you
Skylar,
guys,
Jackie,
all of you, man.
Melissa.
Please, just because I'm not saying anything right now, it's just because I wanted to get through the story of why my Fight Our War is here and what it's about. And like I had one guest say something to me one time, and didn't like what I had to say, because she was talking about her daughter and son-in-law and how the one had issues with drugs, the other one had issues with alcohol. But she goes, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it outside these four walls with our family. I said, oh, okay. I go, well, you know what? By not talking about it, you just put another drink in your daughter's hands. And by not talking about it, you just put another needle in your son-in-law's arm. And she got pissed. She goes, who in the hell do you think you're talking to? And I said, I'm talking, to you. And I go, and I'm someone. And then she goes, well, who do you think you are? And I go, I'm someone who does not have all the answers, but I'll never stop asking the questions. And I'm going to bring this to the forefront any way I can. And if that means pissing people off like yourself to open up people's eyes and get rid of the stigma, then so be it. And, and that's where we are. And, like I said, I've been very blessed to have, like I said, OG had jumped on here, and as you guys know, my scheduling has been removed. I am no longer allowed to do anything as far as scheduling because
No.
I can screw that up in a blink of an eye. And some of you have seen that firsthand, Leroy and Anna, my scheduling skills are not good. Um, but just the people that have been come into our lives as my Fight Our War family, it's truly amazing.
The best
My man
family.
Leroy here is part of the family from Connecticut, from New
Mhm.
York, and it's just an amazing group of individuals who come together as one family. Just running down the line, like I said, Aunt Cookie, my cousin Laura, and Tony. I saw Skylar, and
Vincent was on. Caleb was
Skylar,
on.
Vincent, Jacqueline, Trisha, the shenanigators, Wanda, good to see Wanda. It's been a while. Melissa, all you guys, and
Mhm.
then the ones who I don't see for whatever reason. It's just,
Are those too shy to make a statement?
yeah, and that's fine, man.
And
Just
it's
being
okay.
here and just being part of this family, or and it's not just my Fight Our War. It's all of our families. It's anyone who is doing something to help, whatever the name of your platform is. Um, it's just like an extended family. I mean, we've got our in-laws. Do you know the difference between in-laws and outlaws?
Oh.
Outlaws are wanted.
Oh.
Hey, you know what that means, Jacqueline? Let's get some stupid dad
Uh-huh.
jokes going. We can't be too serious here. You know that. But that's just part of the My Fight Our War family, man. Leroy says, I have a story for you, but I'm waiting until you come back to New York.
Okay.
Well,
Good.
we're working on that, Leroy, and not only that, we're still waiting for our clips with that we did with me, you, and Matt. So if you find anything out before me, let me know, so that
Mhm.
way we can let everyone else in here actually see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are wondering, actually saw some of it. Were the jail when we were in jail, and myself, Leroy Ebron, and Matt Cronin were upstairs in the studio, and we were doing some clips and videos along with Kyreek and Dylan,
Mhm.
who are producers. In fact, you can go on TikTok. Both of them are, I think they're in Rhode Island, but
I think that. Yeah, I
they
think so.
were producers and working with Mr. Beast, and now they're with Ian Bick. And so I got to know them. And next thing you know, we're upstairs doing these clips and videos, having a great time.
Mhm.
And it's those ones that you saw in a jail cell, and looking forward to sharing those. They were a lot of fun, and it was hot,
Mhm.
hot. But anyways, like I said, I left a lot out as far as like the minor stuff. Uh, but I just thought about what some people have said about not knowing the full story about My Fight Our War. And I
And
was
then
like,
new people that aren't on and not saying anything maybe haven't heard his story. So
yeah,
he thought maybe, and actually Ian and Matt said every now and then refresh people's memory or tell your story because some people just don't know.
yeah, that's just it. You know what? As our story,
Yeah. How did it all come about?
yeah, and I never in a million years thought that sharing stories that are so painful and just basically terrible stories, man. I mean, all that's why I always say to everyone who has been a guest on our show or any show, you guys are heroes, man.
Mhm.
It is heroic for what you do. And I mean, think about it. You are going on social media sharing very painful personal points of your life
Mhm.
that not only affect you but your family and friends, and you're sharing it with the world. And you're doing it because, for me, when I share my story, it helps me. But knowing that someone else out there is going to hear this, and then they're going to say, wait a minute, I can relate to what he's saying.
Mhm.
And you help.
There's hope.
Yeah, there's always
Yeah.
hope. you know um and we're all proof of that, man. And I
Mhm.
swear that's why I always say, just remember, man, addiction is only a word. Addiction is not a death sentence. We're proof. We are living proof of that. And that's it's just a beautiful thing. And I just needed to get focused. I needed to get back on track. And
And so
yeah,
now you're enjoying every day
yeah, I tell you,
because you appreciate
and
it.
I still, we're human, all of us. We have our moments. Believe me, I have mine. I get pissed and upset and angry, um, but this time it's not because of addiction. It's not because of drugs and alcohol. It's actually the opposite. It's because I want so much more in a positive way, and then I have to kind of grab the reins and pull back because it's like, I did it again like the other night, just sitting here and looking around. Like right now, you see us,
Hmm.
but right now, what I see is a monitor, a mic, cameras, lighting, cables, and shit. And it's just like, man, what a blessing. I mean, what a and not only that, jump on a plane, fly to New York, and walk into another studio in New
Hmm.
York,
Hmm.
and with people like Leroy, with people again, I can't say enough. Thank you to Ian Bick and Matt Cronin, um, for all that you guys have done for me personally to get this ball rolling and to keep it going in a positive direction. Man, thank you guys so much. Um, and everyone is part of this family. Like I said, with Skylar and Kayla and Leroy and Trisha and Cookie, the shenanigators. Um, my man Tyler and Danny Gibson. I mean, all of you. It's just there's so many, and it. I say it all the time. It truly is a blessing, and I don't know, man. I just that's about it. Just
Well, that's it. That's it in a wrap. I
that's
mean,
it. And it's
that's
just
what you wanted to share.
yeah, and the best is yet to come.
Hmm.
The best is yet to come.
Hmm.
So let's see where we
And
at
it's pretty
here.
damn good already, surrounded by all your family.
Oh, it's
Look at
just
all these people who
yeah.
just the love and
Yeah, I
spirit,
remember
good spirit.
when I first started it. I remember I think it was less than 2 weeks. I was sitting there and I was just going through the page and just looking at the post. I mean, we just started, man, and it went from like 20 people to 200 people to 500 people to I think we're at over. I don't even know. Um, and just real quick, but then reading the comments were incredible. It was amazing. I'm sitting there reading some of these, and we would get something. Someone would pop on saying, "Listen, man, I'm having a bad day. I'm afraid I might relapse." Within minutes, I mean, there wasn't one, two, five. There, like, just boom. People comments. Listen, man, you got this. You're not alone. Here's my number. Message me, inbox me, call me. I mean, total strangers. We did not know each other two
Hmm.
weeks ago,
Hmm.
and now we are sharing our deepest, most painful um, life stories with total strangers, but we were doing it in a place where people felt safe. And that's what I wanted with My Fight or War. And that's what we have become. And it's all because of you guys. And I remember saying, I go, just take a second. I go, look at our clips, look at our comments. I go, just look at it. And I remember naming off some names of people who were talking just like you guys do during the show, how you talk to each other and you're going back and forth. I said, a week ago, first of all, a week ago, this didn't exist. On January the 7th, January the 8th,
Hmm.
this is what existed. This a piece of paper. January the 9th is when it actually became a page on social media. But on January the 8th, if you would have walked up to someone and said, "Hey, man, you want to be part of my Fight Our War?" They'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And here we are, going on 3 years. And like I said, it's truly a blessing. And, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's just, it really, like again, I've said, whoever thought that sharing such hardships with total strangers would make you feel so damn good.
Mhm.
But,
And then they became family.
and next thing you know, we're family.
Mhm.
So,
There's a couple nice things. From Leroy. He got a call today from a guy who said he was getting ready actually to do a crime and watched one of his episodes, and the episode changed his life. He didn't commit the crime. Amen.
there you go,
And
man.
then Trisha said she got to watch her son graduate from the Air Force today. And if she wasn't sober, that would not have happened.
I saw that post. What a good looking kid, man.
Congratulations, Mom.
I saw that. Congratulations, man. And
how
just
proud you must be. And Leroy, how good you must feel. You saved somebody from going to jail, possibly.
There you go. And these things, they happen, man. They're not, they're not just, words. I mean, they are words, but they're words with feeling.
Yeah, they change people's lives.
I mean, the one thing that I will never ever forget, is one that happened to me. And it was within the first couple months of starting my Fight Our War.
Mm-hmm.
There was an individual, she kept messaging me, thanking me over and over for my Fight Our War and how it's helping her. And then all of a sudden they weren't coming as much. I wasn't getting as many messages. They weren't as frequent. And I remember one night, I got a message, and it was from this individual, and not only from her, but I got another message, and it ended up being from her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was unbelievable. The lady, actually, she was going to kill herself.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened. She had everything set up, and she somehow hit something on her computer. And my story, I posted my story. I did a video of my story, came on, because she would always talk about that. She goes, when I'm having a hard day, she goes, I'll watch your story again and again and again. And she goes, it makes me feel better. It makes me have hope. And she said that she didn't know how it happened, but all of a sudden my video started to play. And she said that she just started crying. And she said she watched it. I remember she said she can't even remember how many times, over and over and over. And she called her daughter and said she needed her to come over. And her daughter got there. And I didn't ask how or what she saw, but she was going to kill herself. And after watching the video a few times, she said something inside of me just, it did something to her. And instead of doing what she was planning on doing, she reached out to her daughter. And then her daughter messaged me, and she was just beside herself. She said she literally walked into watching, what could have been her mom being dead. Instead, it was of your video playing. And so Leroy, yeah, I will never forget that. I will never, ever forget that. But so there you go, man. Our words do matter. Our words are very strong. And you guys are just absolutely amazing. So that's an hour and 4 minutes of your life that you guys will never get back. Yeah. So, but thank you guys for sharing some time with us. And we're going to be doing a lot more.
Yeah. And what Leroy said, a big shout out to Matt and Ian.
Definitely.
Good
and
guy.
Old Ian, boy,
he's going places.
He got bit hard by that love bug. Him and Letitia are off and running.
Mm-hmm.
And what's their dog? Bella. Their dog, I think it's Bella. And Matt, they're running all over the place. So really looking forward to seeing all you guys when we head back to New York, and look forward to seeing you, Leroy. We'll get some more video shots going of the sets upstairs. We'll do more of that as well. So, tell Carol we said hi, and Aunt Cookie, and to the whole crew, man. God bless you. Love you. And again, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've given me. So until then, from all of us at My Fight Our War, Susie the Wonder Dog, love you guys so much. And always, always, addiction is only a word. It's not a death sentence. And keep fighting the good fight.